Hello folks, this video is going to be boring for most people, but very exciting for the people who have purchased their MarcDuino V2 kit for their R2D2s, which I'm about to start shipping. So this explains what you'll get in the kit and how to do the first hookup. So briefly, the kit consists of a master MarcDuino board, a slave MarcDuino board, the Wi-Fi and its antenna if you purchased it, the power supplies, and a bunch of cables. First, show you some markings. By the way, I'll ship the device with the power supply attached, but it's easier to see the markings without them. So I'll show them with I'll show to you without them here, so we can see. In general, I like to mark things, and I use, when you see a little minus over here, it means the whole row is minus. The plus here refers to the whole middle pins is plus, and S is for signal. And you see the same standard use over here for the servos. You have minus, plus, and single. I don't know if you can see. The only difference is I square C. I square C goes, the rows goes this way. So SDA is all the spins, SCL is all the spins going that way. Ground and 5 volts do the same thing. So the first thing you have to do is connect the master to the slave, and for that it's very easy. It says slave out on this one, and it says slave in on that one. So obviously you go connect slave out to slave in using this 3-pin cable. So this one goes slave out. I like to always have the yellow on the signal side of things. I do the same for the servos, so I'll use the same standard here. So this is on slave out. So make sure don't connect it to the other slave out. That would be for other boards if I make more. You can chain them up, but for now there's only 2. So out from one board goes to in from the other board, and you want the master to be out and the slave to be in. Right. The second cable, this is for the MP3 trigger, and it's a 4-prong cable, and that one goes where it's written sound, and you can insert it any way. I like to insert it with the green on the minus. There you go. So notice that there's a little jumper over here. That's the power jumper, and there are some optional ones not installed, but with the power jumper out, you are on your own to power your MP3 trigger. With the power jumper in, it's powered by the supply over here, which is of course way strong, and I should have no problem with it. So the default configuration with the jumper in, and you don't need to provide any power to your MP3 trigger. I'll show you how to hook it up later. This cable is the one you are going to use for hooking up to your display, your Teeces, if you have them, or the Jedi display, which is the one I use in my Droid, but it's a little bit outdated now. And those go in the row marked lights on the slave, and no, same thing. This, by the way, everybody gets a different color, so I don't know which color you're going to use exactly, so you'll have to be careful and replicate by position and not by color when I hook it up later on. Same deal here. You can either provide the power for your lights, or get the power from this power supply, which I recommend. So the default configuration has the jumper on, and you won't have to provide any other power to the lights, the Teeces. And by the way, this is why this cable, everybody has a different set of colors, because I take them over here, I peel 3 at a time, and I go through the rainbow. Okay, then so the power supplies, they should be on by default, so that you shouldn't have to add or remove them, except if you want to see the markings. They're a little tough to see once they're on. And then you're left with the Wi-Fi and its antenna, and no, it's easy peasy lemon squeezy. You just put one in the other. When you're at the end, this thing actually moves a bit. You can turn it around without moving the screw. And then you put it on the MarcDuino, making sure that all the pins are in. It's possible to put it one way or the other and then miss a pin. So make sure there's no pin that's outside. And that's it. That's what the basic kit looks like once assembled. And I'm going to show you how to hook it up to a real dome. So here is the system we just assembled, one just like it, and I'm going to show you how to hook it up to the other elements in your dome. That's the sound MP3 trigger. I have a few servos here, and I have the Teeces lights, and I have a CuriousMarc Hololight, and we also try to put a REON Hololight on it. This is the demo setup I use for Celebration 7, so that's why I have all this conveniently laid out. This is also my test setup. The first thing you will need to do is make yourself a little power cable. So this one goes to here I use a 12-volt power supply. It goes basically to a plug here. And since I'm going to test a lot, I made a real clean one with little lugs. I put real pins at the end of it. These are DB25 pins, I think, from a connector. So 12 volts that you need to deliver to both power supplies. So be careful, the 12 volts in is this one. It's written 12 volts in. Don't put it on the 5 volts out. And it's written also plus and minus, so that should be very easy. So those are just screw lugs. Make sure they are unscrewed before you put those things in. So same thing, so it's put in parallel, right? 12 volt both. They don't have to connect back to here. They can connect both directly to the power supply. And once you have done this right, if you power them on, you should be greeted by little lights, and both should do the blinky blinky thing. The red one, right? Okay, so let's power them off. So next thing is you want to power the MP3 trigger over here. And there's nothing difficult for that. You take this cable that we had before and make sure the ground goes to ground, and use only the first 4 pins. I don't know if you can see that. I'll zoom on it if I ever can. Right, so that's the other end of this, on this first 4 pins. They're labeled ground to RX1. You have to make sure that the power here switches this way, is onto USB, which means internal power, because we're going to power it from the MarcDuino. And once you have done that, actually you should be able to test it right away. So I have it hooked up to my little speaker amplifiers here for test. And when you turn it on, this little light should blink, and you should have a startup sound. If you don't have a startup sound, you haven't connected this correctly. So sound works. Then you have to add the servos, and basically it's labeled on the board. You can ignore all these ones where it says panel servos, the one you're interested in, and they're labeled 1, 2, 3, 4 to 10. you can refer to my website or to the app in R2 Touch. I use the same numbering. And then you put your servos in the plugs with the, depending on what brand of servos you have, either the yellow or the white, or in this case the brown, on S, which stands for signal. And let's hook up a couple of them. 1, 2, a little bit of room for the third one, and 3. So they're all hooked up the same way. And while I'm at it, you do the exact same stuff for the slave. This is not the best way to make a video. Right. So the slave is slightly different. It has 6 servos for the holo servos, and those 3 rows here, this is for the Hololights. It's written on it, HP lights, HP servo, so shouldn't be too difficult. And this one is for the magic panel. So we will put a servo on any of these. Let's choose one. So front vertical, that's what it says. There's a little V and H, vertical, horizontal, and it says front, rear, top. So you can't go any wrong, hopefully. Actually, I'll put it over here, so I can go down there. So once you've done that, you should be able to see the servo reset at power on. It should make a little noise. You hear it just went chink, and so that confirms that they are hooked up correctly. So the panel servos will reset, not the whole servos. So let's go further and hook up the Teeces. So that's the trickiest one of them all, because everybody has a different color. So here I have kind of purple, gray, and white, and you have to go back at the board and see where they go. And if you look at the markings, which I'm not sure you can see with the light here, purple is minus, gray is plus, and white is S for signal. So the minus and plus, they go to power your Teeces over here. Let me fight with my camera for a second. Here, so on the Teeces, there are 2 inputs. There is raw, and that's for 12 volts. You don't want that because you're going to power it through the MarcDuino, which already brought it down to 5. So you want to solder little lugs on this one where it says 5 volts, and that's what you want to solder or to connect the plus and minus to. So I said minus was purple, hard to do with one hand, and plus was gray. Okay guys, I'm going to set you down somewhere while I do this. Just too hard to do with one hand. Right, so gray is on plus 5 volts. Right. And then you have one wire left, which is signal, and that goes to a small pin on my micro here. It's called RX. And no, this one is called RX1, I think. If it can focus on it, which it might or might not. It looks like it cannot. But there's a little marking, it says RX1. This is TX0 RX1. So on this one, it's RX1. Look, and it depends on what you have for your microcontroller on your Teeces. And finally, let's hook up one Hololight. So these are the CuriousMarc Hololights, which I recommend. We actually are in the process of starting a run of those, so stay peeled, and they should be available soon. These little guys, you have also to read at the markings. It says input and battery, and there's a plus and a minus. So the battery plus and minus, if I can get the camera to not fall, which would be great, goes into over here. It says plus minus at the top, so that's where you want this. Yep. And plus signals at the bottom, that's where you want the input, and in my case the plus is blue. Okay, so we have a system with a little bit of everything hooked up, and we'll see if it comes up okay. Ta-da! And I didn't screw up, I have sound, and the Teeces come up. Okay, so now the next step is to go over here on your R2 Touch, and the first thing is to connect to whatever Wi-Fi it has spawned. And the SSID, I use your screen name. So this is the unit that will go to Polar Wing Nut. And I already entered the password, so everybody will have a little sticker with his password on the Wi-Fi. And once it has connected to it, you go back to the app, R2 Touch. It should come up, and it should become green and should connect. So let's try to quiet it down. And for example, to close and open the servos. Okay. So open, close, that works. Then you can try, there is a holo on and holo off button here. So holo's on, holo's off, so that works. Then you can try to see if the Teeces effects work. So we'll, for example, we'll do scream, and it should. It screams and gets the thing to Teeces, and we'll do everything at the same time. Leia is a good example. It has the holo and the lights and the sound. And then we'll do a little tunnel dance here. Okay. And then if you want to test your HP servo, a quick way to do that is to go to the highest activity level, which has the holo on. It also has the random tweak of the HP servo. So that's it. You have it all hooked up correctly, and you're ready to go. One more thing for this long video is if you want to use a how do you call it? A REON Hololight. So here is one over here, made by Glenn Harper. And actually Glenn is the one I'm talking to make also a version of my holo, so we'll sell both. So this one comes out with I2C, and you can use either distro or distro, it doesn't really matter. Just I never know which is which. So I wrote it down. On the inside, the red is plus 5 volts. So you'll make sure that on the slave, you hook it up on the same direction. This is a 4-prong cable, I don't include it. Maybe I'll ask Glenn to ship it with this. And then you orient it the same way. You can use any of the three. This is I2C, so it's all gone in parallel. So here you go. And let's see if that works. Alright, so when it starts, it's on this random mode or whatever. So let's say holo's off, zoom is off, holo's on, zoom is on. So under REON, there is really no difference between hooking up the front, rear, and top. It's the board that knows where it is. So you have a front board, a top board, and a rear board. On mine, those are not microprocessor control. So you have to put them on the right top, front or rear. It's written F, R, or T, right? Front, rear, or top appropriately. And that's it. Here's your R2D2 V2 system.